When the pioneers arrived here, they saw these great hills, they saw lots of woodland, farming opportunities, they saw 3 rivers coming together, 2 forming one flowing on west. We became known as the gateway to the west. Today, you stand on a hill and you see the same thing. Rivers, a great sweep of mountains, hillsides, and you see buildings. Buildings are everywhere in Pittsburgh. We started early, we built, we lost many to the Great Fire, and we rebuilt, and we are rebuilding again, but we are retaining all the time.
You got the whole history of American architecture spelled out within walking distance, just in downtown Pittsburgh. And it has to be saved. It has to be preserved.
Pittsburgh is probably the surprise in America. It's the most, in my view, European city we have. You look down streets and you see mountains on both sides, and it feels like I'm in a place that's so unlike the United States, where it's always the big horizons and the bigger views. And it's charming, it's unique, it's a place that will hold up over time and be probably the most unique place in America for these reasons. It is, because of all its constraints, perhaps most magical, because it can do only so much. And within that, look how much has happened and evolved over time.
The truly dynamic American cities are those that are coming to grips with the problem of outmoded structures. Increasingly, we are seeing large-scale demolition as the first step in building modern cities. In this jet age, events move fast, faster indeed than we sometimes realize, and our progress is certain to be steady as we clear away the structures that block progress.
Pittsburgh was probably the first city in the country to go headlong, mistakenly, into the urban renewal mode, bulldozing so much of the fabric of its city as well as its economic heart. So it's somewhat ironic that Pittsburgh also became the leader in the preservation movement under Arthur Ziegler and Pittsburgh History and Landmarks Foundation.
Our organization began really by accident back in 1964. An out-of-work architectural historian, Jamie Van Trump, who was just beginning to write, he'd been researching for years, he was beginning to write beautifully about Pittsburgh architecture, and I cut through Manchester on the way out of town. And we went down Liverpool Street and were amazed at the townhouses there, Victorian townhouses dating from about 1870. We got out, we were looking at them. A man came up and said, "What are you looking at?" We said, "We're looking at these wonderful buildings." He said, "You better look fast. The Urban Redevelopment Authority is going to demolish them." We knew nothing about preservation or government processes. We did know that we didn't much care for the kinds of urban renewal that were going on at the time, massive demolitions. So we got started. And the first thing we did was, of course, meet with the people in the neighborhood, learn from them, and develop a program together. There was no real citizens organization, and we weren't a real organization, so we grew up together.
The Children's Museum really owes its existence in some ways to Pittsburgh History and Landmarks. They saved the post office building, and we would not have been in this beautiful building. We would not be in this neighborhood. We would not be doing the work that we're doing in the neighborhood if Pittsburgh History and Landmarks hadn't stood, in front of the bulldozers. And you have to credit Arthur Ziegler for that. We've been blessed with these great buildings, and it's because of this almost ferocious will to preserve the past.
One thing that makes us different from all other preservation groups in this nation is that we have a comprehensive education program for preschool through 90 years, 100 years. And we are out there in the community educating people about local history and architecture. Why is it important to do that? Because the more you know about a place, the more you love it. If you don't know something about a particular building or place, you're much more likely to throw a rock through a window, spray graffiti on a bridge or a building. If you know about a place, you know about the engineer, the workman, the people involved in creating it, you know about the beauty and the artistry of that landmark because people have helped give you the words to describe it, then you suddenly start to care.
Most people may not understand how intricately linked or intertwined preservation is with their daily lives. When you think of your fondest memories in Pittsburgh, it's related to preservation. You cannot walk down a street in the city of Pittsburgh. You can't leave your job. You can't leave your environment without touching and being involved and enveloped in preservation. Just not possible.
The principles of landmarks are numerous, and in the neighborhoods, they are about not displacing individuals, households. It is about doing the best you can to bring back buildings to their authenticity. It is about listening to the community, hearing what the needs are, and where the answers are. The answers do not come from above, but we believe that they come from below. Also, it's about partnership. It is about working not by yourself in these neighborhoods, but helping to show others that there is great potential in certain areas. We have in Wilkinsburg a Preservation Resource Center. It has been a beacon of light in that neighborhood, bringing people from all over the region to hear the programming. We have seminars, we have lectures. People are really interested in learning about historic buildings and all that goes on around historic buildings, how you restore historic doors or stained glass, and that's right in the middle of all this development we have. The future is a bit undetermined. Where we go largely depends on who are the emerging leaders in preservation and what their goals and objectives are. I think there's a lot of opportunity there to do something wonderful.
We still have a long way to go, but right now there is a massive amount of development underway in Pittsburgh, and that is a very good sign. But that doesn't mean that all the disadvantaged neighborhoods are now advantaged. They are not. We are deeply involved in all of them. The visitor who comes here shares the same point of view that most of the people have who live here. We love our buildings and our neighborhoods.